Good afternoon. I know what you're thinking, more Americans. Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, what an honor it is to speak on the same stage as people like Mary, Giddy, Tal, and of course Sarit. Sarit and others. Sarit hired me to create a special project. And this project at the Alma Center is a visual analysis campaign that we like to call Eyes on the Ground. So, in my past military experience, locating enemy forces to be targeted with airstrikes was my primary mission. Now, with that process, that requires visual confirmation and to have eyes on the objective. This does not include the blurry, black and white, murky drone footage from 20,000 feet, but rather to have actual eyes up close to the target. And this intimate view of the enemy is something that we at Alma felt really needed to be brought to the public's attention, because we believe that our audience is entitled to seeing what is actually happening in the Middle East. Because with this information war, seeing is believing. And we created this campaign, and it's a simple concept with a video series which maps and visualizes military targets across the Middle East, found using open sources, with each video through the use of 3D mapping tools, satellite imagery overlays, and photography taken on the ground. A new, revealing, and unique view of the enemy forces can be presented. We start by following a lead on, for example, IRGC activity. A lead can be anything from posts on social media to official government reports to other research centers, information, or breaking news. And once we locate the IRGC activity, then we can begin to analyze the surface for any developments. And this project is also extended to Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, elsewhere. But for today, we'll just keep the focus on Iran. A positive indicator that we receive on the authenticity of what we expose is that, it's funny when they do this, the enemy forces will then scramble to delete what we already exposed. By then, it's too late. So for the Iranian sites we're about to see, first I'll get us oriented, and I'll provide some context, and also, and then I'm going to take us there. So the IRGC missile valleys in Kermanshah were already widely reported, if you remember the Iranian missile attack on U.S. forces in Iraq in January 2020. But a bird's eye view of a mountain base doesn't provide much insight as to the infrastructure and weaponry stored inside. The nature of satellite imagery is that they're flat, two-dimensional, and looking top-down. But thanks to spherical photography taken from an adjacent high ground, what was before just a map becomes an in-person glimpse into an Iranian base. So considering Iran is a highly mountainous country, anywhere anyone can reach Overwatch positions, that made us make the primary focus of our campaign the IRGC ballistic missile program. Also, satellite imagery is static. It's a moment frozen in time. So when dealing with enemy forces that have gone underground, you have to capture them at the right time. By capturing their existence, you prove your legitimacy in your narratives. And that was just one of dozens of sites. Now we can move on from ballistic missiles to drones, another one of many sites. Following up with a lead from 2021, we revisited the site where construction had been reported of IRGC infrastructure. And we found a UAV command and control station which conveyed that these silos, which are identical to the launch silos you'll see in a second there, are for the purpose of launching salvos of UAV swarms. 6 silos were exposed in total, which would mean 18 drones per salvo. Although this is very high-resolution imagery captured by the Maxar satellite, we still merely are spectating, and what we want is to be there. Like, we felt that there was a distance between us, and we wanted to close it, because now you can see when you're an observer there, only then you can realize the massive scale at which Iran is building these bases and their efforts, not just by reading abstract measurements using a map ruler. And progressing with the drones, the Iranian drones, they're not meant to stay in Iran. The Iranian weapons none of them are. They're meant to be exported. That's their purpose. And this is an example of geolocation. From this August 2022 exercise, courtesy of Russian forces, they didn't censor the coordinates on their screen, so it was very easy to verify that location. And that location just so happened to be the exact same place where they have their UAV arsenal, where Russian delegations had visited to purchase and procure Iranian drones for their war in Ukraine. So this was the first known instance of Russian training on Iranian soil on the use of Iranian drones for combat operations and for their use on European soil. So as for exporting, not just to Ukraine, but of course to their proxies across the Middle East, as Tal mentioned, we mapped the Iranian corridor, and now we would like to see it, and that's what it looks like on one of many parts. So we tried to illustrate what the journey looks like as though you're driving through there yourself, so we can get a first-person view on what is positioned on the corridor. And it's both Iraqi government forces and also the Iranian proxy militias that are usually stationed along these main roads. They both have their own interests in securing these routes. There were some destroyed vehicles there from their previous fight with ISIS. And when I mentioned that we would like a first-person view, not just a map, it can sometimes quite literally be a first-person view. So that was the northern corridor. The southern corridor is much easier for the Iranians because it's the Shia strip of Iraq. That's friendly territory for them. Here's what a rest stop for cargo trucks looks like. This is what the cargo truck drivers would see when they're on their path to delivering weapons. This is an Iranian proxy camp we explored, but for time constraints, we're moving on to Karbala, Iraq, where we could see who is the dominant force. It's the proxy militias that really control the city. These are some of their flags. It's the same groups that are currently attacking U.S. forces across Iraq and Syria as part of the axis of resistance. Now, thanks to U.S. forces stationed at El Tanf, the southern corridor is blocked, but they're still coming through Abu Kamal, and we can explore just how secure the Abu Kamal area is by flying into the barracks of an Iraqi border police squad. Now, I saw this, now we could see everything. Their video camera feeds, the weapons under their beds, their faces where they sleep, their names written on this board in Arabic. Thankfully, we have a great Arabic translator, Hala, who translates that stuff. Iraqi police, we can see that they're Iraqi police, but the most alarming thing is we see their weak sense of security, operational security, and an open border, their physical security, where nothing is stopping weapons from being smuggled past them. And yes, we can confirm these are Iraqi forces. They're in Iraqi uniforms. And also just, the general, ISIS is still out there. They're still hardcore. Why are Iraqi forces operating in such a conduct? So it was through these techniques that I've shown you that almost exposing to the Western world the threats posed by Iran and its proxies. And so our goal is to do this by showing and not just telling. And I really think that by using eyes on the ground, we also have eyes on the truth in this conflict.